Yo, welcome back to the channel. Kamusta po sa inyong lahat? With Sigria now in the picture, the conversation around mob-focused teams has shifted a bit. So, instead of just looking at raw damage, we are going to talk about teams that actually perform when things get messy, especially in endgame content like Whimpering Waste, where crowd control and constant pressure is the key to victory. This mode rewards teams that can group enemies together, apply wide area damage, and keep that damage consistent. Big single target nukes look impressive, but they are not always the answer here. What actually matters is how quickly you can clean up multiple targets without your rotation falling apart. Let's start with a team that people seriously underestimate: Carlotta, Linne, and Mourn. On paper, Carlotta is often seen as a single target specialist. That reputation is not wrong, but it's also incomplete. When enemies are close enough, she becomes surprisingly effective against groups. Her ability to freeze enemies creates a form of soft crowd control that immediately slows down the pace of incoming threats. On top of that, her glacier splash damage allows nearby enemies to take damage even if they are not the primary target. And her ultimate has enough area coverage that with proper positioning, it can wipe clustered enemies in one go. And when you pair that with Linne and Mourn, the amount of buff stacking starts to get noticeable. Damage ramps up quickly, and what looked like a single target unit suddenly starts behaving like a wave clearer. Now, let's move into something that is still flying under the radar for a lot of players: Lupa, Ameth, and Mourn. This is quietly becoming one of the more reliable monofusion setups in the game. The reason this works is because of how well the team controls enemy positioning. Lupa's outro pulls enemies inwards and surrounds them with fusion damage, which already sets up the next step. Then Ameth comes in with her fourth basic attack, which helps tighten that grouping even more before she unloads her burst nuke. And that burst is where things get interesting. Ameth's fusion burst mechanic hits extremely hard once you reach the required stacks. With Mourn in the team, you are able to accelerate that process, making the overall flow feels much smoother. The end result is a team that does not just deal damage, but does it in a way that feels controlled and repeatable. If you want to lean even harder into that burst play style, then swapping Mourn for Chisa is also an option. Lupa, Ameth, and Chisa is all about pushing that fusion burst to its limits. Instead of capping at 10 stacks, Chisa pushes it further, allowing each burst to hit even harder. The trade-off is that you lose some of the speed and comfort that Mourn provides. The rotation can feel slightly less forgiving, and you need to be more deliberate with your setup. But if your goal is maximizing each burst window, this version absolutely delivers. Next up is a team that feels powerful but also a bit demanding to play: Cartitia, Shakona, and Chisa. This one leans heavily into damage overtime and defense reduction. You are layering effects like Arrow Erosion and Havoc Bane, which steadily chip away at enemies while also making them more vulnerable. Both Cartitia and Chisa help manage enemy groups, so you are not constantly chasing targets around. Meanwhile, Shakona provides off-field damage that keeps ticking even when she is not active. The downside is that this team asks more from the player. Rotations can get complicated, and if you drop the flow, it is noticeable. This is not the kind of team you pick up if you want a relaxed run. But if you are willing to put in the effort, the payoff is there. Now, let's talk about Sigria, Chowwen, and Mourn. If you are looking for something that handles mobs well without feeling overly punishing, Sigria is a strong option. She is not as mechanically demanding as some of the more complex setups, but she still requires a bit of understanding to really shine. Her biggest issue is interruption. If your flow keeps getting broken, the whole rotation can feel awkward. But once you get comfortable with how she moves and how to maintain her momentum, she becomes very reliable in wave scenarios. Chowwen helps stabilize the team by supporting consistent damage and making it easier for Sigria to operate. That is, if he doesn't get swatted mid-air. Mourn once again ties everything together by smoothing out the rotation and improving overall uptime. When everything clicks, the damage output is more than respectable, especially against group enemies. Of course, you can always swap out Mourn for Shorekeeper, and the result is only a 10% falloff. Shorekeeper, of course, is the reliable buff and heal bot that keeps giving all damage buffs and crit rate and crit damage amplification. Finally, we have what might be the most straightforward mob clearing team out of all these: Froolova, Chowwen, and Chisa. This team feels like it was designed specifically for handling waves, and more importantly, it feels like it respects your time. All three characters contribute to grouping enemies, which immediately solves one of the biggest problems in Whimpering Waste. You are not chasing targets across the map or waiting for cooldowns to line up perfectly. You are actively pulling enemies into your damage windows and keeping them there. Froolova plays a huge role in keeping the battlefield under control. She helps dictate where enemies go instead of reacting to them, which already puts you in a better position compared to most teams. Chowwen complements that by adding steady, reliable pressure that does not fall off between rotations. There is always damage happening even when you are not in a perfect burst window. Then you have Chisa, who quietly turns this team from good into ridiculous. Havoc Bane is not just extra damage, it is a multiplier on everything the team is already doing. Once enemies are grouped and consistently taking hits, that defense shred starts to feel very noticeable, especially against bulkier waves that would normally slow you down. The biggest strength here is how little friction the team has. You are not juggling overly complex setups or praying that everything lines up at the right time. The gameplay loop is simple, repeatable, and very forgiving, which is exactly what you want in a mode that constantly throws multiple enemies at you. And that simplicity is doing more work than people realize. In Whimpering Waste, every second you spend fixing your positioning or recovering a broken rotation is a second where enemies are spreading out, resetting, or just wasting your damage window. This team cuts out that problem almost entirely. You go in, group, apply pressure, and repeat. No drama, no recovery phase, no awkward downtime. It also scales very well with player consistency. The better you get at cycling the team, the more it feels like enemies are permanently stuck inside your damage zone. There is very little drop off between rotations, which means your clears feel smoother instead of spiky. You are not relying on one big moment to carry the run, you are constantly progressing. And there you have it, my top picks for mob clearers in Wuthering Waves and Whimpering Waves. And if you have other recommendations, please leave them down in the comment section below. As always, if this video resonated with you, please leave a like and subscribe, ring that bell for massive gotcha luck and maybe a sandwich. Thank you so much for watching, maraming salamat po, and I will see you in my next video drop. Goodbye.